Back in the win column once again this entire season. It's going to be really important for the Duke basketball team to take care of business in ACC play. They win the ACC opener on the road at Louisville. Big time performance for Duke.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome on into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson. Thanks for being here with us today on Monday, December 9th, 2024, as Locked On Blue Devils is your one-stop shop for everything going on in the life of Duke athletics. Today's show will focus on the big win last night over Louisville as Duke opens up ACC play with a win. They've now won 6 of their last 7 ACC openers and a big win for the Blue Devils over the Cardinals in last night's game. If you have not done so already, please be sure to follow and subscribe to Locked On Blue Devils for free wherever it is that you get your podcasts. Make sure you leave us a 5-star rating and written review. You can watch our show each and every day on YouTube. A special shout out to all of our first watch and first listeners, our everydayers within the program. A special shout out to all of you guys. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Devils a part of your daily routine each and every day. You can follow us on X at LO_Blue Devils, and I'm there as well at _JJ_Jackson_. We got our good friend Josh Cox here with us on today's show to talk about the win last night over Louisville, and what a performance by Duke. Yet again, falling behind, they find themselves with as large of a deficit as 14 at a couple of different moments throughout the game. But in that second half, and in an interesting moment in the game, a pivotal moment when Cooper Flagg picks up his 4th foul, Duke is really able to go on a big run, ice out the game, and win it. They end the game, do the Duke Blue Devils, on a 26-10 run that creates the 11-point difference that gives them the advantage. Tip of the cap to the defensive effort from this Duke team, because it was locked and dialed in. So joining us on the show, the aforementioned Josh Cox is here with us. And man, I tell you what, these slow starts aren't something we want to continue to see, but at least we're getting to talk about a Duke win at the end of the day. And how about the effort that they had down the stretch?
Listen, anytime, I know this is it sounds like coach speak, but anytime you go on the road in the ACC, especially with these early December ACC matchups, you go on the road and you get a win in a good environment, high energy environment against a team that's very hungry, looking to bounce back from a couple of seasons of, struggle and a new head coach now. I mean, you've got to take it. And I know we're going to get into it, but just a really, really strong performance from Duke after, as you mentioned, getting down by as much as 14 points.
And then just kept clawing back. I mean, you look at the first half, Louisville started 8 for 11 from 3-point range. They ended the first half 8 of 16. And then you go into the second half, it was totally switched. They used up all their makes. That second half, they shoot 3 of 15 from 3-point range. Duke was much more aggressive. But even in that first half, some of those looks, Duke's right on top of the guy. Their length obviously was playing a factor in this one. And that's unfortunately one of those games where, hey, credit to Louisville, tip your cap, because they were knocking down those shots from the outside.
Yeah, I think it's something that Duke fans are well aware of and understand that, oftentimes you're going to catch heaters from other teams. There's going to be some players, recent history is the Cormac Ryan story, right? He came into 3 the entire season and he hit 7 against Duke or whatever it was. So I think that's something the Duke fans have come to just deal with. I will say there were a couple of plays, though, because I made the same comment that you made. It was like, yeah, you know what? Duke's on the road in December, ACC play. They're going to hit everything they throw up. And then the next time down, we literally don't rotate properly and leave a guy wide open. So right. I think in the first half, there was a combination of Louisville being on a heater, and then you give an ACC guard a wide open 3. He's probably going to hit it, down. So there was that. And then the defensive effort in the second half, JJ, there were no open looks. They also were not on a heater. And then you get exactly, what it turned out to be. Duke, I believe, is plus 15 in the second half. Played really good, held Louisville to next to nothing in the last 8 minutes of the game. And so just an overall really solid effort from Duke. And we can't just say from Duke, from Maliq Brown and Cooper Flagg and Tyrese Proctor and their teammates.
Yeah, Cooper Flagg led the way, 20 points, 12 rebounds. but he fouled out of the game ultimately in the last minute of this one. But he picked up his fourth foul with 10 minutes to go in the game and had to go sit down for 5 minutes of game time. Kind of big for the rest of the team to step up when Cooper Flagg's been asked to do everything this season. That was pretty impressive. And looking at kind of the deficit that Duke found themselves in, again, down by 14 in the first half. They cut it to a 4-point deficit at the break. Louisville's able to extend it back up to 7 or 8 points in the second half before Duke kind of can get comfortable. And as I said a little bit earlier, they end the game on a 26-10 run. How good is this defense? How good is this Duke team that they opened up as a 9.5-point favorite, and they were still, despite falling behind, despite shooting 8 of 30 was Duke, 26% from three-point range, able to find a backdoor cover, man. It's insane how impressive this Duke team is.
Definitely impressive. And you touched on the key moment of the game is when, Coach Shire had to put Cooper on the bench, and you're wondering, how is Duke going to respond? And Con, for all of his struggles that he's had, recently, really, really played well, not just scoring the ball, even though he did get a couple of shots to fall, but he really played well in that time frame. And Maliq as well. I mean, I can't say enough good things about Maliq Brown. The guy makes ridiculously, insane defensive plays. He impacts winning so many ways. But yeah, that was a pivotal moment for Duke. I felt like in that game. How are you going to respond when Cooper Flagg, who all due respect to Cooper Flagg, is so dominant on the rebounding aspect, on the defensive end of the court? He just wills a lot of things into existence, it seems like. And he goes out during a pivotal stretch at Duke, not only maintains there, but gains while he's off the court. So kudos to those guys stepping up in that time.
Much needed. It's as Duke finds a way to pick up their first ACC win. Now we jump kind of back into non-conference competition and a couple of games in which Duke should win. They're called bye games within the college athletics landscape when you're inviting the likes of Incarnate Word and George Mason, some of these next opponents, to come inside Cameron Indoor before Duke gets back into league play. So still got to find a way to take care of business. A couple of things that still need to be worked out for the Duke team, but nonetheless a big win. Let's talk a little bit more player specifics as we'll take a look at the box score when we return here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Locked On Blue Devils today is brought to you by our friends over at Omaha Steaks. Omaha Steaks is the absolute best, as nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. It's guaranteed perfection in every single bite, and right now you could save on unforgettable gifts with 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, score an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience. And gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages featuring gourmet favorites. From legendary steaks to mouth-watering desserts and more, you could save 50% off site-wide for a limited time at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners are going to get an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. Minimum purchase may apply. Omaha Steaks is a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. Okay, here we go. We keep talking about the Duke win last night over the likes of Louisville, and we have a guy named Cooper Flagg on our side who continues to get better game by game. This is a player in which he was out of 5-minute portion of the second half. That was so critical. He plays just 28 minutes of competition in the game for Duke, and yet to finish with the line that he did, holy cow, another amazing performance from Mr. Flagg himself.
Yeah, and he plays at his best when he plays within the system. And there were a couple of times that I felt like Duke got out of that system a little bit and tried to go a little bit ISO ball, and that's just not – he can do – like if he's forced to do that, I'm sure he's the guy that Duke wants to do that, but he plays better basketball when he is free-flowing in the offense, and we absolutely saw that. And then I already mentioned it earlier, but his effort on the defensive end and on the rebounding side is second to none. I mean, just an incredible all-around player. which is not news
Plus,
to Duke fans.
+6 in the plus minus column, had a block, had 2 steals, does a little bit of everything. For the first time, we see him foul out in the last minute of the game. But fortunately, like we said, Duke's able to come and cover at the end of it. Louisville doesn't hit a shot from the floor in the last 2.5 minutes in this one. So overall, really impressed with what we saw. And then looking at the team here, Josh, we mentioned this a moment ago, but Duke only shot 8 of 30 from three-point range. Here we are, nearly 50% of the shots are being taken from three-point range. Duke had 62 total shot attempts in this game, and yet they're still able to find a way to win. Their defense kept them in it, and as everybody in the sport is saying, if this Duke team continues to play this level of defense, they're going to be really difficult to beat come the postseason. And I certainly agree with that, because what Duke gets out of the defense each and every night, they're able to survive nights like this. I don't want to continue 26% three-point shooting nights, especially after you shoot 41 in what was such an amazing win over Auburn. But I guess the law of averages here, you're going to have tougher nights from the outside. You're playing on the road in a different gym and all those things. But yeah, pretty impressive to see Duke lock it in like this.
Yeah, since you have this box score up, I mean, it's hard not to look at that bottom right and see Maliq Brown's plus minus at plus 24 last
That's
night.
insane.
I mean, just insane. But no, you're right. The shooting, obviously, Duke shoots better at home. But I'll be honest with you, I think Cameron is it's just a made environment for shooters. It's not that, I mean, opposing teams also shoot well at Cameron. Like, I think Cameron's just a great gym to shoot in. And so, on the road struggles, different arena struggles for sure. But if Duke could just get a little bit more consistency, and, you don't necessarily need a Isaiah Evans heater at every game, but you would like to see that, upwards of, 35% or something like that would be, 30 to 35% consistently would be kind of the ideal circumstance there for Duke. And so if Duke could put that together, and then you couple that with the lockdown defense that they play, you're right. This team's got a recipe for winning late in the season.
Looking at the numbers more specifically, Isaiah Evans, fresh off his heater against the Auburn Tigers, comes back down to life a little bit. Again, only plays 10 minutes, though, in this one, as he is scoreless. 0 of 2 from the floor. Both the shot attempts were three-pointers for Isaiah Evans, but scoreless in this one. I thought it was an awesome game for Mason Gillis as well. John Shire said as much. After the contest, he knocks down a 3, grabs a couple of rebounds, but his toughness, his control, that was the guy Duke turned to late in the second half with 10 minutes to go when Cooper Flagg picks up that 4th foul. And it wasn't the scoring outbreak that I know we're going to have. We're going to have some 12, 15-point game coming from Mason Gillis when you're not expecting it, but it's going to be oh so sweet. But just to see him able to contribute in a role like this, I think is big time, because you look back at that Auburn game, he's a guy who only played 5 minutes in that game because Evans was playing so well. Again, this rotation isn't getting crazy big, but nonetheless, really excited to see those plays last night from Mason Gillis.
Yeah, for sure, because I'll just be frank with you. I mean, my thoughts about Mason Gillis, over the last few games has been, what is he bringing to the table, to be in this rotation over an Evans? Because, I understand Evans has the defensive struggle there somewhat, and he's not terrible on defense, but he's not the best defender. But he does have the ability to go on one of those heaters, right? And with Gillis, it's like, man, you were brought here as a 40% three-point shooter. I think currently you're shooting 28% or less from 3. You got to put the ball in the basket to be valuable on the court. Well, last night he did. He was able to put the ball in the basket, but then he provided so much value in the intangibles. So, it's going to be interesting. And I got to give a shout out to our friends at the Devil's Den podcast. But they were talking after the Auburn win on their episode. Really this minutes distribution is really between Con, Isaiah, and Mason. And that's really kind of the rotation of these minutes. And, maybe as the season goes on, maybe Con doesn't get the 37 minutes, a game. Maybe that turns into 32 minutes, and maybe Isaiah is able to carve out a little bit more. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I do think that's kind of the trio for Duke fans to keep their eye on as we move into January and into conference play. How does the Con, Mason, Slim minutes, how do they divvy up?
Yeah, so many interesting things. I think that's a big question to be answered particularly in the ACC games, because again, these next few, it's going to be a good opportunity to get some experience for some guys, and hopefully guys can get back into playing form and that sort of thing. But I look at a player like Caleb Foster. I thought he was pretty good in last night's game, and then you look at the plus minus stat, and now he's -7 in 13 minutes. Kind of crazy to see that one there. I want to know your thoughts though on Common Model Watch. Who finishes with just 2 points in the game, plays just 11 minutes, not in foul trouble, 2 rebounds. But in so many ways, it definitely a big-time impact, because Louisville's not wanting to take shots around the rim when he was there on the floor and that sort of thing, but just kind of looking for ways to get him involved. The last 2 games, his 2 points in each game have been massive alley-oops where you just throw it to the rim and he's the one that comes down with it.
It's a unique situation. I know Duke is at the top of the game when it comes to data and analytics, and they're using incredible company to handle this. So I mean, much deeper than just plus minus. I know Duke is seeing whatever the value is or is not. I want to remind Duke fans of 2 years ago in December what we were thinking about Derek Lively. 2 years ago in December, it was like, what is this going to look like? I mean, can Derek Lively figure it out? Is he going to carve out a role? This was the number 1 overall guy coming in. And what happened was they figured it out, right? And so I don't know now Derek Lively did not have Maliq Brown on his team. He had Ryan Young, a little different of a player. But I do think that there is a spot. It's just going to be, Kaman's got to figure out how his game is going to translate into this college game. In a weird way, he almost is like a more pro ready guy than he is a college guy. So he's got to figure out what his role is going to be with this team.
Not only reminding Duke fans, thank you for reminding me, Josh, because I think that's the perfect kind of thought process there. Shout out Ryan Young. It's been a little bit since we've been able to bring him
Shout
up
out
on
podcast boy.
Yeah, exactly. With what he was able to do. So big time win for Duke over Louisville. Really impressive performance from at the finish there for this Duke team to pick up a win like this. All right, we'll take one more quick timeout here on the show. And then when we come back, we've got some football news that we've got to discuss and share. All of that in just a moment here on Locked On Blue Devils. Locked On Blue Devils is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Go ahead and get started on all of the NFL action with our friends over at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything that you're going to need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL and a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. Okay, here we go. We keep going. We're talking Duke football now. They find out yesterday. We had big news. Yesterday we learned that Duke wins in their game over Louisville on the men's basketball side of things. And we find out that also shout out to the Duke women's basketball team who won their ACC opener yesterday. But we got Duke football that's going to go down to Jacksonville, Florida, January 2nd, the Gator Bowl. First time ever, Duke University is going to play the University of Mississippi, Ole Miss, in a football game. Pretty exciting matchup that we've got on our hands here.
Do you have any idea who I was looking this up, who the head coach of Ole Miss happens to be? I have no he's kind of a low-key guy, flies under the radar.
Not a big personality whatsoever, not outspoken.
I couldn't find his Twitter, his X account. I have no clue. No, what an opportunity for Duke football. Listen, when the announcement was made, the first announcement was that Duke was playing in the Gator Bowl, but he was just, against an SEC opponent, which we knew that's an SEC tie-in. And there was talks of Florida on the lower end, and then there was talks of LSU, Bama, Ole Miss. It's kind of like, where is it going to end? Where's it going to happen? And
but for Duke football to be in that conversation,
incredible. And that's where I was
any of
headed.
those
Like,
four
I don't
opponents,
care who we're playing. Like,
Yeah.
throw any one of those teams in there in the Gator Bowl, and I'm happy. And so, kudos to Manny Diaz, kudos to this coaching staff, to the players. 9-win season, rewarded. Stayed away from the Holiday Bowl in San Diego. I've heard there's a story behind that. I don't know what the story is, but who knows? But wound up in Jacksonville. Listen, it's a little over a 6-hour trip from the Triangle, driving, and I think Duke's going to be very well represented down there. Kind of a slot where there's not much else going on that evening. January the 2nd, it should be all eyes on Duke and Ole Miss, and now it's just a matter of putting together a good quality competitive football game.
How would you advise Duke football fans to view these next few weeks, Josh? Because first time ever, you're getting a chance to play in the Gator Bowl. Today is December 9th. That means that the transfer portal has opened up in the NCAA. It's all the way open until December 28th. There will be names that enter the portal. No team is going to be immune to this whatsoever, but then you're also trying to prep a little bit for bowl games and get your younger players. Practice time is the biggest thing that all these coaches look at. Duke's won 5 straight bowl games, so they got that going for them. What would kind of be that message you think to Duke football fans right now?
Yeah, I think it's to be patient, to not overreact, and to let these guys make their decisions, right? And then Duke will put the best 12 guys on either side of the football, right, out for that game, no matter who they are. You've got opt-outs, you've got transfer portals that'll probably happen. Duke's not immune to that, and then we'll see. So that's where we're sitting right now. But kudos to Duke for getting there, and then hopefully Duke can come away with a competitive game or maybe even a win.
Never played Ole Miss, never been in the Gator Bowl. Crazy to think about the fact that it's Duke football in a game like this. And the good thing for us, Josh, we've got 24 days until this game is actually played on January 2nd. So excited to see where this Duke football team goes. Big win for basketball last night. Josh, tell people about the Section 17 podcast and everything they can do to best support you.
Yeah, for sure. At Duke FB Talk on all social handles, and then on YouTube as well. Duke Football Talk Section 17 podcast, weekly football podcast coming to a close. Kind of now with weekly, but we're doing a preview this week, and then looking forward to it. But yeah, we bring you a little bit more in depth look at football, and so we appreciate likes and subscribes and ratings, as would JJ here on Locked On for sure.
Go have a great day, Josh. Thanks for the time, man.
Appreciate it, JJ.
All right, that's Josh Cox joining us here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Really good thoughts and insight from him, and a big win for Duke last night over Louisville. Shout out to the Duke football team heading to the Gator Bowl. That's going to do it for our show here today. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.